Hey guys, welcome back to Queen of Wonders. So recently I've been really liking this thing where I film booktube videos while doing household things like folding the laundry and kind of washing the dishes, which is what I'm doing now. I was sort of inspired, well, it's not direct at all, but I was sort of inspired by Petra over at Petra U. Her channel is great, by the way, but she's been sort of documenting her reading, and I'm really enjoying those vlogs. My neighbors are so noisy. But yeah, so I thought that I would do that because I really like watching them, and also bouncing off of Katie from Books and Things' booktube habits tag. I think that's what it's called. Yeah, I think it's important to make videos that are sort of like similar to videos that we would want to watch. I think that's sort of really helpful. And I'm not saying that you can't watch videos you don't want to make, but I just mean there's a certain feel to the kinds of videos that I like, I guess, and this seemed to fit right in. So today, it's sort of a heavy topic, but I promise I'll find a way to wrap up this vlog so it's not so depressing. But recently I've been thinking about two of my favorite authors who have recently had sexual misconduct allegations sort of pitted against them. And I'm talking about Junot Diaz and David Foster Wallace. And just how difficult it is to come to terms with that. So let's talk about Junot Diaz first. That one really freaking hurt, because the whole time that I've been reading Junot Diaz, I've always sort of thought of him as someone who was great because he could sort of parody these things, and he could say these things from a point of view that was both humorous and striking, you know, like he was able to make fun of Junior but also make you really feel for Junior. And if you guys have been watching this channel for a while, you'll know that I love basically everything that he's written. And the week before those allegations broke, there was a piece in the New Yorker where he was talking about how he'd been sexually abused as a child, and I was reading that in the office over my lunch break and just crying, and I really felt for him, I guess is what I'm trying to say. And the whole thing with how he behaved toward women, and probably even worse, like the particular situation in which he'd sort of done those things, which was like people who were his colleagues, people who were his students. I've got trauma with stuff like that. So it made me really sad. It broke my freaking heart. And yeah, I've just been wondering about what to do now. You know, how do you reconcile that? Some people will say that you can sort of separate the art from the artist, but to be honest, I don't think you can fully. Or it's like, if someone is going to be using, this is something that my friend told me, by the way, I can't take credit for this, but like, if someone is using their art as a way to make that sexual abuse happen or to do bad things, which Junot Diaz was, like he was using his reputation as a writer, then I don't think that you can fully separate the two. Yeah, so I'm not sure what to do. I think, I don't know, I'm really not sure what to do. Like, I mean, not that anything that I would do would have any bearing, but I guess like as a reader, as a woman, and as someone who has been in that position to be taken advantage of by mentors before, I do wonder, like, you know, how do I reframe those books and those narratives in my mind? And it's like, it sort of feels like something that you really believed in turned out to be a lie. Because for those of you guys who've never read any Junot Diaz, basically most of his books revolve around a central character whose name is Junior, and around his family and like his struggles, in particular with women, in particular about cheating, and in particular about how he ends up losing the love of his life because he can't stop cheating on her. And the way that I'd read that initially was, as I said, like sort of something introspective, something that someone was doing to come to terms with something. But after these things, like, I sort of wonder now. I wonder about those books, and if they weren't just a way for him, like an excuse to make things better, or an excuse to get away with the things that he did, or to make those things seem less of merit, if that makes sense. And looking back on the New Yorker article about how he was abused when he was younger, I was like, I wonder if it wasn't like a PR thing, if maybe they saw this coming and were just like, yeah, you know, let's air that. We need all of the sympathy that we can get. And it just makes me really sad, and it makes me feel like I've been duped. It makes me feel horrible. And the way that Junot Diaz writes about women too is that he has this like way of glorifying them from Junior's point of view, and it reminds me of this Nick Joaquin story called Summer Solstice, and that's like a classic Philid story. And there's a part there where the protagonist, who's a woman, says to her husband, who always says that he adores her, she says, maybe women don't want to be adored, maybe they want to be loved. And I can't help but sort of think about that duality. Like, in his literature, he would always uplift women, but I think sometimes doing that is sort of a way to dehumanize them, or a way to treat them as something larger than life, and therefore to treat the encounters with them as something out of your control, and it just really pisses me off. I'm not sure if I can keep his books, or if I should, or I don't know. When these things happen, really, like, what is there to say? What is there to do? And the second person who freaking broke my heart within the past month is David Foster Wallace. And this is even more confusing for me because David Foster Wallace has been dead for 10 years. But, you know, abuse is abuse is abuse. And for me, while the Junot Diaz thing was disappointing, I find the David Foster Wallace thing even more disappointing, just because of how romanticized his image is, I guess, in the media. There's a freaking movie with Jason Segel playing him, for crying out loud. And the thing I always loved about David Foster Wallace's work is that he seemed to be able to dissect a situation so well. And here's the thing. Like, usually I'm not the kind of person who, you know, like, would disregard struggle, or would disregard depression or mental illness, or even, you know, like, I read Hemingway, okay? Like, that guy, class A misogynist. But I suppose the thing is that time is also a factor. Like, everyone is a product of their time. And the thing with people like Junot Diaz and David Foster Wallace is that they should have known better. Like, they were born and live in a time where there's a lot of self-reflection that you can do. And the thing that bothered me most about, like, the David Foster Wallace allegations isn't the stuff that Mary Carr said. Mary Carr is like one of my favorite memoirists and poets, and she has a book called Lit, and she talks about David Foster Wallace and their tumultuous relationship in that. Because the stuff in Lit, like, even she herself kind of says that, well, for one thing, they met in rehab. So you know, it was like rocky from the start, blah, blah, blah. And in a way, although it was still horrible, like the things that he did to her, like, at least the power dynamic there wasn't too imbalanced, because Mary Carr was already a professor at the time, and, you know, like Mumsh is a lady boss, like, she could handle it. But fuck, like, there have been allegations now that have come up where it turns out like he abused a minor and he was like macking on his students. And I'm just, hold on, I just need to get the frying pan. Okay. Yeah, I'm just super, I don't know. I don't think I can look at things the same way again. Plus, there's the whole this is water thing where like the crux of a lot of David Foster Wallace's reputation and his writing is about empathy and about moving away from your default setting. So yeah, like everyone wants to be impatient, everyone wants to be mad, everyone wants to be gratified sexually, everyone has been through shit, but not everyone ends up assaulting people. I don't know, it's strange. It's strange. Yeah, so there's that. Made me really, really sad, and I'm kind of unsure, as I said. I don't know. I don't know what to do with all of those books. Do you sell them? If you sell them, yes, you make money. But also, who do you sell them to? Who would you want to pass that dilemma on to? I don't even know. And then, okay, so there's also the question of like, do you take down the YouTube videos that you put up recommending their work? I recommended Junot Diaz on like so many freaking videos, I can't even count. I'm not sure. So yeah, that's kind of all I have to say about that. For now, I've taken their stuff off my shelves because I don't want to see them, and every time I see them, like, I feel really, really bad about it. And the thing is, like, I know that it's not the first time that, like, there have been people who have been terrible or whatever. And what I'm gonna say is probably gonna sound terrible too, but in the past, I knew what I was getting into. Like, when I read Hemingway, I knew he was an asshole. You know, now it makes me feel like I was sort of tricked. People say that fuckboys are bad. Soft boys are the fucking worst. Like, to be honest, soft boys are the worst. Anyway, moving on from the soft boys of literature, I want to talk about A Wonderful Woman instead. I've been reading Little Fires Everywhere by Celeste Ng, and I really, really, really like it. I was talking to my friend Francine earlier today about that book, and she was asking me what it was about, and she asked if it was anything like The Virgin Suicides, just because that's sort of the vibe that she got from it. Oops, sorry. That's the vibe that she got from it from reading like the synopsis and the cover. And I was telling her that yes, it is similar to The Virgin Suicides in a sense that it's sort of about being fascinated by people, and it is set in suburbia, but it's different because I feel like The Virgin Suicides is very much about looking in and very much about sort of almost voyeurism, like being fascinated with someone, becoming sort of obsessed with someone. But this book is more about willful negligence, I think, like, and how negligence and ignorance can exist within the most tight-knit of homes, like the most perfect of homes, and I'm really, really enjoying it. So yeah, that's what I'm gonna do after this video. So yeah, those are just my thoughts for today. And oh yeah, would you guys like to see a video on tarot and tarot decks, tarot reading, how it works for me and stuff like that? Because like I got some responses on my previous video, but they were all from people who I'm pretty like good friends with on BookTube, so I'm not sure if that was like a, you know, friendly like, yeah, that's fascinating, or if it was like, hey, I want to hear about more of that stuff, because I can film a video like that. And yeah, that's it for now. On Friday, I will be posting a review of the poetry collection that Angelica Kofer sent me, so stay tuned for that. And I know these videos have been kind of long, but I really enjoy making them. So for now, that's kind of all that matters. So yeah, bye, and I hope you guys are having a good week.